details of your products and services, advertise on Camnet TV. Reach your clients and target markets directly and see your business grow. For special rates, you can contact our marketing department on
0955 664 305 or 0978 290 626. Camnet TV.
Not just another channel.
This is Camnet TV World News. For a prompt response, call +2609 53 995 099 or +2609 62 444 726 or +2609 711 77467. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Good morning. Why would somebody wait for me to stop talking? This program was meant to talk. Allow us to talk now. Huh? Good morning and welcome to the breakfast show right here on Camnet Television. This is a Rise and Thrive breakfast show. The tea has warmed me. I can tell you that, I came in very cold. I had to put in this thing. There's one. No, I have to start counting from here. There's one, there's 2, 3, plus a vest, 4. So now I'm planning to remove one cord, but because my mic is already tagged to this, I don't want to remove it. I can see you also wearing 1, 2. Constance, you're even bombasting.
Don't count on me.
Okay, since you say I shouldn't count on you, it's okay. It's all right. Good morning once again. My name is Kala Mchima on behalf of Constance Mwemba and of course Mr. Francisco Mumba joining us as our guest for today. And of course we'll be discussing a whole range of other issues, but more prominent is the issue of corruption. Mr. Mumba is a governance activist. He's been in this area for some time now, and I should also make mention that he's been in the political arena also for some time. He's been managing workshops both locally and internationally. I think I remember having attended a workshop with him in some country somewhere. We had a good time.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Mumba.
Thank you.
How have you been?
How have you been? Oh, good.
Wonderful.
Good.
Right. I'm sure Constance is just like, what about some of us who've never been out somewhere? I just used to go karinga back into my mandevu kanyama kaya.
No, I think she's telling herself that there's always time.
Yeah, there's a time for everything.
Yeah, I agree, but it's also time, she's still growing, and when you're growing in all aspects, so as a young lady, I'm sure she still has a long way to go in her life. Don't worry.
So you are saying you've reached it?
No, but
you've seen how he's even seated, and how he's even doing his hands as a young lady, as if he's that older man who has reached and has every experience.
I've adopted Mr. Mumba.
Okay.
I've adopted this style as a sign of humbleness. So if you see me like this, please, if you want to be humble, please, you can also adopt this kind of posture. then you're very humble, or like this.
That's faking stuff. Actually, if you are talking to me
Actually,
and then you pose like that.
It's highly misleading.
Like this?
Yes.
No, this posture, when you sit like this, you do like that, it's a sign of humbleness.
No. You are now pretending.
You think so?
Well, if someone does that to you, just tell them to just sit properly and feel comfortable.
No, then you should be telling other people also. It looks like...
Well, being humble can be described in so many ways. Sometimes you just don't need to, put your hands together.
Actually, it's not even about
that
your
you
sitting
humble.
posture, no.
Not really in that direction. I think being humble is just being you, being respectful.
But we see others, with their hands clamped together, their head is always bowing down. We are told that's a sign of humbleness. When you move like that, thou humble has arrived.
Honestly, I
humble
meet someone for the first
humble.
time in that manner. I don't get deceived. No, I don't get deceived.
When you're praying, one eye is closed, the other one is looking at you. That's a sign of humbleness. Right, Mr. Mumba. So many things have been happening around in our country. On a much serious note, a lot of things have been happening in our country. But one reason why we brought you here is that we've had this protracted debate on whether. By the way, colleagues, I just forgot. Prepare Mr. Sande Chanda for me. Sande Chanda on corruption. Just prepare him for me. Just put him on standby. We may just backfall on that clip. Now, we've heard the public court has been calling for the dismissal of Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya. There have been calls everywhere. He's been arrested on corruption allegations. Why can't you bench him and allow the investigative wings to conduct their investigations in a more neutral manner, as opposed to investigating somebody who's more like insulated? There's some force out there. You know what it means when you just see a flag arriving. This is the minister, and interrogating a minister really sometimes can be intimidating. People have been saying, okay, if you can't fire him, why can't you suspend him? The message got to the president. The president issued a statement that I cannot fire this person because he's not yet been found guilty. I can only fire somebody who's been found guilty by the courts of law. He is a presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's what the Constitution says. There was a follow-up on Thursday. There was a follow-up statement from my dear brother, Sande Chanda, who's the PF media director. And they also echoed the same sentiments and said, the problem is people want us to be acting to public court. We shall not be acting to public court. So this is more reason why we brought you. Probably you've been in this game for quite some time. From where you stand, and I don't know, what do you think of this? Could they be right, or what should be the right thing to do?
Well, thank you very much, Kalan. I think let's begin by looking at the historical facts about corruption in Zambia. You may wish to know, Kalan, that in this country, there's only one high-profile individual that was jailed under Anti-Corruption Commission on corruption charges. And this was then Member of Parliament for Mumba constituency in the MMD government. Subsequent years, people have been cited for corruption. None has ever been convicted. So if you talk about the conviction rate vis-a-vis corruption charges in this country, SCC leaves much to be desired. I think that's the starting point for all of us to appreciate. But if you look at a number of corruption cases that have been reported in respect of other individuals, probably permanent secretaries, directors, I think their rate is almost 100%. So it tells you that there is an issue to do with politicians vis-a-vis those that are serving in government. So with this background, which starting from way back, I think we can talk about even in the MND, but we have seen it in the PF that it has been escalated. We have had a number of individuals that have been, called to account on corruption, but nothing has been happening. I think let's just get back in the short memory. It started with the Chimbakamwili. There was a lot that Chimbakamwili was corrupt. I think quickly what happened with the head of state.
But we've never been told, even his dismissal letter, never stated that he was corrupt.
This is the point I'm trying to tell you, that because I think you began by saying the public court.
Right.
So from the public court perspective, it's this information that is running around that Chimbakamwili was relieved of his duties.
And he's being fired. That was a time when the president was like, there's a lot of corruption, and so now start firing some of the ministers because of corruption.
But I want you to be mindful that even the taking off of Chimbakamwili, you will not be wrong to assume that it had some political differences. If there were no political differences, probably Chimbakamwili until today, he couldn't have been taken off from...
One of them, Honorable Kambuli keeps saying that I used to challenge the president a lot in cabinet meetings. So probably he was not happy with me. He felt like I was belittling him, and I was becoming more popular.
Indeed. Now, coming from Chimbakamwili, who did we see next in that regard? We saw also Emerina Kabanji. I think you're aware what transpired in the Ministry of...
Social cash transfer.
Exactly, to do with the social cash transfer. Has it been proved even today? I think Kabanji is still in court.
She's still going at court.
So we're not going to delve into that, but I'm just trying to give you a picture. What happened with Kabanji? She was relieved of her duties. Why? Because the president is appointing authority. That we see Kabanji was relieved of her duties. Not long from there, we saw Chitotela being cited in the similar manners. What happened to Chitotela? I think the president said, I think he would not relieve Chitotela because of the same presumption that we see today, that one is innocent until proved guilty. That's very true according to the Constitution, Article 18, Sub-Article 2. Very correct. And I'm still coming to that. So, but Chitotela was cleared by the courts. And now we've seen the issue that we are talking about today with Dr. Chitabu Chirofya. Similar sentiments have come from State House that you cannot relieve him because he's not guilty. Until the courts prove so that he is guilty, then they are going to relieve Dr. Chirofya. Now, here is my problem. First and foremost, there is inconsistency. So that aspect of inconsistency where the other two were dealt with differently with the other two makes the nation, in fact, let me use your word, makes the public court begin to say a lot of things. What's happening? And these are the questions that are coming now. What's happening? That the others have been seen to be in this manner, but others are seen in a different light. Now, if we can get back to the law, it is very true that the law keeps reminding us that you cannot, begin to condemn someone when he's not been found wrong. So the courts must clear him, which is very true, going on our presumption. But you should not forget, Kalan, that fighting corruption has two faces. One is the legal route. The law prescribes that when one conducts himself corruptly, he must be charged, taken to court. If he's found guilty, let him serve. That's what the law says. So in this situation we are in, the law has not taken course, but he's been charged. So we want to see him going through that process. But don't forget, Karan, that corruption has a moral face. Right. This is very critical. And it is the moral aspect that we want to connect to corruption. Why? Because when a society is corrupt, in fact, corruption has been linked to cancer. So when you use the word cancer, what does that mean? It tells you, okay, of course, in modern medicine today, we see that when cancer is identified in the early stages, it's possible for you to do what? To cure it, right? But when cancer has been identified in the late stages, you cannot. Now, corruption has been linked to cancer. And the moral aspect of corruption is what we see today, that go on the road today. In fact, I was telling myself, said, many times the reasons that have come from Plot 1 and many other places, that we cannot begin to, take people out of their, workplaces, jail them based on the public. We're asking the public, bring evidence. That's what is being said, not so. Bring evidence. And of course, evidence is very difficult to bring in respect of corruption. But I was telling myself, some of these evidences, you find them on the road. Just walk on the road. A road that was done 6 months ago, today it has cracks, serious potholes. 6 months. Then I'm asking myself, where are the engineers? That's a starting point. The engineers who gave out a completion statement that this road is ready to be used by the public. Where are they? Tell me, unless you tell me that we begin to lose confidence in our engineers, then I'll agree that maybe let's leave it that way. But all this, what smells to you and me, Kalan, is the same corruption. That shoddy works are being done, people are being paid huge sums of money on shoddy works. That money should have gone to a clinic in Kalingalinga for medicine. Because the medicine didn't go to Kalingalinga, a child died in Kalingalinga as a result of corruption. So the moral aspect of it is that this erodes, eats up the fiber of the nation.
Yeah,
so
but,
because can eat up, now, maybe just let me finish this one, Karen, because it's very important. Because can eat up the fiber of the nation, I think it must be nipped. And it must be taken seriously, those that hold public office, to quickly address it. Now, how has it been addressed in that regard? Kalan, if we get back to the Kaunda regime, the Kaunda regime had what we used to be called the leadership code. And most of it was to deal with corruption issues. We saw it in the MND, though strongly fought by the late Vice President, George Kunda, when they did some reform on corruption law. You saw how the public reacted. Why did the public react? Because they have realized that corruption is a cancer and you cannot allow this cancer to go on. Now, here is the issue. Despite that we don't have facts about the people that have mentioned vis-a-vis corruption, there is also another route which we call an administrative route. Why? Because to begin with, as a nation, we must have values. And corruption erodes amongst our values. And corruption being eroding towards our values, the president has an administrative recourse or administrative process that will be able to make that we fight this corruption. One, he could have taken off any of these inclusive Rufia off from his position. That you know what? We are suspending you pending court process. Why we are suspending you, we do not agree, or we may not say you are corrupt, but want to give an opportunity that your name be cleared by the courts. In doing so, administrative resort will show the nation that this we don't like it. We want to take you off from the job. So he should have been relieved of his duty through a suspension. And this could have been the best, and the nation will not.
And then when he's cleared?
When he's cleared, because you love, this is a person that you have seen is working diligently with you, bring him back on his position. And in fact, you will have earned more, because the people will say, yes, here is an individual. But the challenge, I will tell you,
Mr. Mumba,
yes,
before probably Constance comes in, though she's drinking cold tea, it's no longer
let me
tea.
drink my coffee too.
It's no longer tea Zigoro now. I also doubt if you are drinking a tea or you are drinking Zigoro. What were you drinking, all of you?
Constance.
It's tea.
Cold water. You are drinking cold water.
No, there's cold water here.
Which was formerly called tea. Mr. Mumba, here's the thing. I've even lost count how many ministers we have now. But however, among the ministers that we have, they just speak on Francisco Mumba as Minister of Health being corrupt. What about the rest? Why would they arrive at your name? They called you for investigations. They investigated. Do these investigative wings just dream to say, let's call Francisco Mumba, we show him? Or they first investigate, then they call you in for investigations, for interrogations. Then, at the point where they reached, they were formally charging him for corruption. Not only with one count, four counts. Four, yes, like this. 4 counts.
What's wrong with your fingers?
4 counts. I thought I had 5, 6. 4 counts, Mr. Mumba.
Kalan, in fact, I'm happy actually you are raising something that is very dear to my heart in terms of charging someone. How many ministers do we have in the...
I posed the same question.
To, what's this now? Okay, to the PF government. How many ministers do you have? We have a number of these ministers. Have we heard, probably let's bring the one that people say, no, he should not be charged, this and that, because of how we hold people in that direction. Reverend Godfrida Smaili. We have not heard that she's been charged for corruption. Not so. But we have been heard, or we have been told that Dr. Chirufya Chitaru or Chitotela or such and such were corrupt.
Let me just make a caveat that when we are mentioning these names, it does not mean that we are accusing them of corruption.
No,
we are giving them as an example, because these are the names that have come out so far in terms of corruption allegations. So it does not mean in any way that we are nailing them to the cross that indeed you are corrupt. We are giving just examples, so take note of that. I don't.
No, indeed, actually, this is the point that first and foremost, we're talking about historical what has happened.
Right.
Okay. Chitotela was cleared by the court, so he's not corrupt anymore. Dr. Chitaru Chirufya right now is being accused that he's corrupt. Kavanshi is going to court, being an accusation of corruption. So we are not making any statement to mean they are or they are not. We're just stating what's going on in the country. But the point I'm trying to make is that when one is charged, it tells you that the investigating wings must have some facts, some evidence on their side, which they are using to say, this is what you did. In fact, when the state charges you from the prosecution perspective, it's an allegation. So an allegation, they're saying, you know why? You did this, and they want to prove to you this is what you did. And you have an opportunity also to do what? To rebut that this is not what I did. And then the court makes a decision based on what the prosecution are saying and what the defense is saying. So from this perspective, we are saying we constantly seeing certain individuals being mentioned in terms of corruption. But on the other hand, let's not forget too, that it's possible that some of these things could have a political connotation. Because I think in the past we heard that there are a few individuals who've been trying that they wanted to be, maybe to be a running mate or to be this one. So trying to mudsling on each other. But I think we would not want to talk about that because we are not
also important.
we are not politicians on that aspect.
Yeah.
For us, we want to speak what is being said about that they are corrupt based on what ACC has said.
Right.
And this is the information that is coming from ACC that he is being charged with 4 counts. So we want to discuss on these 4 counts, yet this issue has not been taken to court yet, has it? Okay. So from that perspective, is that the Anti-Corruption Commission have seen that Dr. Chitalu Chirufya did something wrong against the laws of this country. And he has to go and prove himself.
That's where I have a challenge. But before I come, Constance, maybe you, at this stage you have issues to raise.
Mr. Mumba, you are specialized in governance issues. And in governance, there are those that govern and those that are being governed. Of course, looking at what is apparently happening over the same corruption thing and the response from State House, how do you think this is going to impact the Zambian economy? What are the effects of this?
The effect of the accusation?
The response from State House over the accusations.
No, I think the whole essence is that someone is going to come out and tell you that probably State House is not serious with the fight of corruption. That's the first thing that is going to come out. Why? Because the issue of corruption is a serious matter. In fact, I remember very well, because I do a lot of these write-ups, I wrote an article to SADC, and I made mention to SADC that, in the SADC countries, we should make corruption, one, non-bearable. Because it's a serious, it's as good as somebody coming with a gun to come and try to shoot you. Because corruption will end up having a number of people dying as a result of no services in certain areas. So if State House treats corruption in the manner they are treating it, in my view, I think it will show and it will give a very bad signal out there that the government is not serious with the issue of fighting corruption. Now, let me add this to what I'm just saying. In this country, the Anti-Corruption Commission were being assisted by DFID. Now, DFID is a department from the British government.
Right.
The idea was to fight corruption. But along the way, in the last 3 years or so, if I'm not mistaken, DFID pulled out its resources. Why? These are the answers that the government should be able to provide. Why did DFID pull out when they were trying to build capacity in the anti-corruption officers to fight corruption on the ground? Why did the British government decide to go and assist in the fight of corruption? Because they know that the corruption that is happening here, could be happening in Kalingalinga, has a ripple effect even to the British government that far. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that we take it seriously to fight this corruption. And if words that come from State House that somebody is being cited or somebody is being charged, and you still want to say, we want to leave Chirufya in his position because he has not been found guilty by the court. Now let me make this one. During the swearing-in ceremony of then Works and Supply Minister Nkua, but now is the Energy Minister, I recall the president making a statement, and I told myself, oh, that's very good. He says, I warn you. He was warning his ministers that anyone who's going to be found wanting vis-a-vis corruption is going to take him off or take her off even when he has not been proved by the courts. But what has happened? Where has that statement gone? This was also repeated when I think should be the European Commission representative to Zambia, Alessandro, that name I think I recall, when he paid the Kete score at State House. The president made similar statements in terms of warning his ministers. But what has happened? Why are they not suspended so that the Anti-Corruption Commission is given, the free will? Because some of the tools maybe that could be in use, in carrying out or in doing the corrupt activities could be the officers. So
Mr. Mumba, I'll tell you that as a humble leader, I take my time. Just because I said I'll fire, as a humble leader, I'll be firing everybody. So I have to take my time. Constance.
No, actually.
So Constance, you can see that just a mere fact of that statement has been made. It reflects that I think the PF government is not serious in fighting corruption.
Mr. Mumba, I mean, we have seen so many leaders make promises of which they haven't even fulfilled. This has been a tendency with most of Zambian politicians. Perhaps that's where our ministers are getting the courage from, because, I mean, they know nothing is going to happen, even though I do what I want. Perhaps someone was not touched some time back when they involved themselves in corrupt activities, and then they were not even taken to court, or perhaps they were taken to court and things just went their way. What would be your comment?
The first thing is that when somebody is taken to court and is handed a sentence, it's a deterrent. That's a critical issue, that it's a deterrent. Someone is not going to, get into that direction. In fact, the taking off of Chishimbakambuli, what many people thought that, probably this is a deterrent. But like I've indicated, that it's possible also that it could be political. That maybe those that you perceive not to tow along in the direction that you'd want to take them off. But others have remained. So to answer you is that just a mere fact that nothing is happening, nothing has happened to many others, it's not a deterrent. So anyone is going to do it even tomorrow. Now, the worst of it is that if the minister is doing it and is not taken off, chances are that even that junior civil servant will do it.
So can you beat them? Join them.
Let me tell you what happened. At some point, I was living outside this country, and I was in Botswana. So I chose to cross into Zimbabwe, Plumtree border. So whilst at the border, some immigration officer from Zimbabwe, and I think this officer stayed long at Vic Falls. So when he saw my passport, he says, Banj. So I answered back, Bueno Banj. I was excited because here is a very far place. And
someone speaking Nyanja.
So I said, Nchekeleko. I want to tell you, that was a period of the other government.
Okay, Mr. Mumba, let's pause. Let's pause because we allow the viewers also to...
Okay, I wanted maybe to finish my thought.
No, you hold that thought. Okay. We shall remind you your thought. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning to you too, sir.
How are you, the guest?
Mr. Mumba, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Although I've just joined this conversation,
right.
At least I'm able to pick
but sir, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
I like the topic which is on the table. This is Xavier. I'm calling from Shongwe.
Thank you so much. And you didn't greet Constance, so she may feel offended. And
Constance, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. You can now go ahead.
Yeah. The question that I have here is, in Zambia, I've come to realize to say that we are too much hypocritical. We like riding on the name of Christianity, but at the end of the day, it's something different from our actions and behaviors.
Right.
These same people that we are complaining about, who are trying to misuse their powers, if they get out of the office, another government comes in and they try to penalize them, or they try to apply the law upon them. We, the same people, will start saying that, which is a very wrong concept. Whoever has done something wrong, let those people face the wrath of law. You know what? We find citizens, when they cross the lines, they cross their boundaries, the law visits them, and it visits them at a lightning speed.
Right.
But when it comes to politicians, the law drags the feet.
Right.
You'll find that it's not easy to penalize the politician just because they are the ones who make the laws. You'll find that at the end of the day, as we are talking right now, the same people who make the laws, they have made the laws on the tenure of the councillors. But they have to be MPs forever, which is very wrong.
Right.
Why should it be like that? While councillors, them it's just 2 terms. That's all they are done.
Right.
Even them, they should have terms. That when they leave office, they face the wrath of God.
Right.
Me, I would appreciate if I thought everyone who is in government answers for his action, answers for her action at the end of the day. You know what? here is someone who's going to the court to face the allegations, to face the judge, to face the magistrate, and he's going with a flag. And the magistrate who's there doesn't have a flag. What's the difference between the two? And that's what if he's facing court appearances, remove the flag from him.
By suspending them?
This person, yes. Relieve him of his duties.
Okay.
Someone is in the office and is trying to, whatever they are investigating, is able to touch them. He's in the office, is able to manipulate even the witnesses, the state witnesses.
All right.
Are we
Okay.
testing corruption or not? No, let's be serious, guys. Let's be serious. We're not doing anything. If it means to disband SCC, let SCC be disbanded. Because it's not doing anything.
Thank you so much.
Since this government came into power, who has been convicted of corruption? No one. So let's just forget about it. Otherwise, we're just wasting time. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you.
The international communities, they are interested in what is happening in Zambia.
Thank you so much.
Expect them to think of us, honestly.
Right.
Is it because we are Christian? Is it because Zambia is the only Christian nation, so we can't penalize leaders? We can only penalize citizens?
We walk like this. We walk like this. We are humble. We are a humble nation. Or like this. We are a humble nation. Right. Colleagues, I liked, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to say. There are some comments. Good morning, family, following. I like that. Thank you so much. Amos Lungu says Luansha is watching. Thank you so much, Luansha. Correct, big man, you are a Zambian for sure. I've tried to add the word for sure there for you. Kalan, this man is addressing you or what? I don't understand. I don't understand. Good morning, watching from Lusaka, Kamwala South. Thank you so much. Morning, Camnet family. Morning to you too. Good morning, family. Good morning, Mr. Justice Tonga. Ngosa Lukwesa says he is also following. Thank you so much, Ngosa Lukwesa. Amos Lungoka, this we've already read. Right. So these are some of the...
You know, Kalan, interesting enough, recently, should be, I think 2 days ago, I was at I attended the MMD briefing,
Right.
where the MMD president was saying, when we get into power,
Right.
those of you who are corrupt or who are doing corrupt practices, you will wish you were never born.
Come again?
You will wish you were never born
When?
MMD gets into power. That's what 2021.
Oh, you mean when they rebounce
Yeah.
into power?
You will wish you were never born.
Anyway,
Probably Nevers Mumba wants to stand on a different pedestal. But talk about corrupt practices has so much to do also with the MMD government itself. We had so much corruption during the MMD government. But again, I think let's not just put it on them, on their throat. If that's what they mean, that if they come to power in the second time, they will have a much stiffer law. I think that's what we need. In fact, I'm one of those that are advocating right now that we should have a law, which others actually have heard repeating, that we should make everybody who has been in government, starting from that person who makes a decision, a civil servant, right to a policymaker, to account when they leave government. Now, this accountability must not just be on the basis of resources. It must be also on the basis of decisions. For instance, we've heard, because I think there should be a deterrent. We've heard how the police just walk into somebody and just beat up somebody, take somebody to court, and it just goes on like that, and unrestrained. We can't continue in that manner. We should have a law that will make this policeman, will make a person who made that decision, who went to do that act, be accountable. Because currently I've noticed that the police themselves, they want to run away that we were doing the job, we were on duty. But this duty, it also must have a reflection of professionalism.
Right.
We must see them act professionally. You can't just, in fact, I recall a number of decisions that have been made. People have been found being maimed because of the decision made by the police. And somebody's going to tell you, I did this because I was doing a duty. No, I think we must have a law that will make everybody accountable. In terms of decision making, a police officer in charge. If it's not a police officer, talking about a politician for that disbursement of money, and for everything else, people must be accountable. I think we must begin from somewhere. We can't have a country where we are today. Honestly, almost everything has broken down. And we can't have a nation in that manner. We should have a situation where people must begin to account for their actions.
All right.
I'll tell you one thing that happened.
There's a caller. I remember at one point we cut you where you were just trying to illustrate something,
okay.
But let's accommodate a caller. Constance, you want to talk to this person?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you calling us from, and your names, please?
My name is Enoch Tonga,
Okay.
the president of State Liberation Movement. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Mr. Enoch Tonga. I'll be inviting you very soon also. You may be the person sitting here. Good morning.
I love that. Good morning, the panelists, and then the lady.
Good morning.
Morning, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you've made it public, and I'll definitely wait to hear from you when you're going to host that. Thank you very much.
You can call me in the background after we are done with the program. You can call me in the background. I know you have my number.
Excellent. No, I'll do that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Good morning, Zambia, and good morning, all the listeners and those who are following us. I must commend you, Karen, and the entire team there.
Thank you.
With such a wonderful program that centers on my heart, which is the foundation of my party, State Liberation Movement, the fight against corruption. So God bless you. To begin with, I think it's on record that as the party president of State Liberation Movement, we have gone ahead to petition the sitting of that South, where we want to see law on corruption be a non-bendable law. And this petition was adopted on the 28th of February 2020. As we can see now that the entire nation is now crying to heaven. It's very clear, it's very public, that the sitting head of state, who is one Dr. Edgar Walungu, and his entire patriotic front, has in its totality embraced corruption. It's very clear. Don't get beat by the bush. President Lungu is on record telling the nation that his officers, okay, some people are receiving a lot of donate money into their account. He is on record saying that the Minister of Lands people have just mentioned. He is on record telling the people of this nation that he's going to satisfy ministers for investigation, whatever it is to do corruption. It's very clear. President Lungu knows that there is corruption here. Even himself has embraced corruption in its totality. So now the problem we have here is the leadership, in as far as the kind of corruption. What we need to see here is that the other people, we must support one another when it comes to fight against corruption. So as a political party, it's our cry, because let's not spend much time on crime. When we have a non-bearable corruption, this in itself will stop whatever is happening. Because yesterday, Children Speaker, the following within 2 hours is in Paris. This is the problem. Common man is picked up on the street, that person suffers behind the bus without being given bail.
Just like I'm scared that what you are saying, if you are picked up, you'll be at Woodlands police station for months.
Which one? Yourself. The point is the selective approach of applying of the law. President Lungu and his state house, they want to give an excuse. Where they're saying we cannot fight corruption and not release duties because of the issues of what being considered innocent until is proven guilty. All those things are excuses.
All right, Mr. Tonga, I want to say thank you so much for calling. What we'll do is that, thank you so much. What we'll do is that I'll invite you next week for a program and you'll be featuring right here. So, Constance, we already have a guest.
Yeah, we do.
We have a guest for next week. You were just trying to finish up with your thought?
Indeed. Maybe let's just reflect on...
But the
Mr.
moment you
Tonga.
reflect on his
There's
point,
another
then you
person's
forget.
I have two issues which I said, I think...
But for
somebody
now, be ready that we'll be cutting in from time to time so that we
that's
can
fine.
allow other people also to participate.
I was trying to bring in the aspect of, the effect that the corruption has. I think there was a question that came from her. And I was giving an example that I went through was in Zimbabwe. And a person tells me in Chekeleko, that in itself reflects what corruption can do. In other words, that person, by looking at my passport, Zambian, he looked at everybody else who was coming from Zambia. It was a norm. It was something that we accepted, corruption. That's why he was able to ask me in Chekeleko. He didn't realize how annoyed I was. I told you first, it was a situation where I met this person far from Zambia, greets me in my own language.
And you feel
he's
good.
a Zimbabwean on the other side. You get my point? And then he tells me this, but I frowned inside myself, but I didn't show him. Why? But this, I wouldn't, blame him, but I blamed our leadership back home. That's how we became to be known. That Zambians, we embraced corruption.
Did you check it up for him?
No, I can even answer. No, he was already annoyed.
He couldn't have even seen any dime from me. That I'm trying to show you the effect of corruption.
Yes.
First and foremost, it erodes the confidence of the citizens. It erodes also the confidence of the citizens on their governors, because you talked about the governors and the governed. As it is in this country, there's just nothing you are going to do, especially if you are talking about public procurement. Even when you have done it correctly, Zambians will voice out. Why? Because we have been subjected to a situation where we feel every day when we wake up, government gets into their offices, corruption is happening. Why? It's because of this, the environment that we found ourselves into. And therefore, it also the responsibility of the leaders themselves to ensure that corruption is cleaned up. So if they don't show this zeal to clean up corruption, I can guarantee you that the outsiders will have no respect for us, because they will believe that anything that we do ourselves, it's corrupted.
Right.
So that's an effect in itself. So indeed, if we want to fight corruption, we must see that we are applying the law to ensure that corruption is wiped out in this country. Hospitals, they are built. Roads have been built. But you've heard that that road, in terms of the amount, is supposed to have been 20 kwacha. But how come we are paying 100 kwacha? You've been told that wheelbarrow you have bought is supposed to have been 25 ingwe. How come we paid 75 ingwe?
I laughed at some point. In Malawi, there's some joke which was going on social media. He is a minister with a big bell, but it was a real event.
Real issue.
Then there was this bridge, a useless bridge, and built with logs. And then there was a ribbon minister was going to cut at officially opening a bridge. I said, God, why
did you bring me to Africa?
So they're talking of billions of dollars on a useless thing.
I think the issue of fighting corruption, in my view, is something that is very dear to me. I think it's very important that if you want this nation to develop, we must ensure that we fight corruption to its root cause.
Right.
And actually, what stands strong against the PF today in this country are about 2 or 3 things. And what stands first that everybody is going to talk about is the corruption. Because it seems to have been that in this government, corruption has been tolerated. Tolerated maybe because of the way the government has handled a number of these cases that have come before them. So corruption stands very tall in this government. I can assure you 2021 will be based on corruption. There's no political party that is going to campaign out there without the mention of corruption.
Against
2, against the governance.
Because you're also saying there's no political party out there which is going to come.
Against the
Even
governance.
the PF will be campaigning.
Indeed. I can assure you, even the PF themselves, no, even the PF themselves will talk about corruption. They will not keep quiet. They will talk about corruption.
That we are fighting corruption.
That's what they're going to tell you. Maybe others will even tell you, actually, we increase. That's what they're going to say. But corruption, all political parties, they will talk about corruption. One. Secondly, something that is very strong in this government is the aspect of rule of men. I think you have observed what's happening. This is why you're able to caution Mr. Tonga that you'll be picked at Woodlands. Why?
No, I just said it.
Okay, fine. But it's being seen as though that this country, it has become the rule of men instead of the rule of law. Because we've heard where minister gives directives to the police to do this and this and this, which shouldn't be the case. Which shouldn't be the case. And we see it in the PF government that this has become so strong. I think they will do much better that allow the police to work professionally. Allow the SEC to work professionally. Allow DEC, allow every institution that supports governance to operate effectively without political, bias.
Right.
2. The third one, other than the corruption, the rule of law, I think which is just generally bringing them all together, it's just the governance aspect of it has been a lot wanting under the PF government. And it is very important for them, I think they begin to address these issues.
Right.
You are not drinking cold too.
You were not. I thought you had some tea. There's nothing. Are you drinking tea for real?
No, there is in there.
Fortunate about coffee that you can drink even when it is warm, even when it is cold.
Constance, please ask my secretary to. Can you ask my secretary to make me
to refill?
Where's the secretary? Because I don't know where your office is.
If you're just joining us, you're watching the live broadcast of the Camnet Rise and Thrive. We may make jokes here and there, but what we're trying to address are real issues that affect both you and us. So in as much as we may joke, we may also take out the most important things that we are discussing. Now, I promise that we just want to hear a short clip from Mr. Sunday Chanda, based on what he said yesterday regarding, Thursday, regarding the fight against corruption. Now, in his own words, he says that the problem with politics now, today, the fight against corruption has been laced with too much politics. That's the question that I would want Mr. Mumba to discuss later on, that we should remove politics from the fight against corruption. I don't know who is supposed to remove it, either it's those in the opposition or those in the ruling party. Let's us hear Mr. Sunday Chanda.
They can be fired, or he can fire them as the appointing authority if it is proved and if it is shown that such an official is interfering with investigations. We must agree that the decision by the head of state to respect Article 18.2 cannot be questioned and cannot be challenged by well-meaning legal practitioners. On this score, we want to call on the Law Association of Zambia to address themselves and address a fight against corruption within the framework of the law. Can the Law Association of Zambia pronounce itself on Article 18.2 of the Constitution of Zambia? Can the Human Rights Commission not remain silent? Can the Human Rights Commission come out to comment on Article 18.2 of the Constitution of Zambia vis-a-vis a person charged of facing criminal charges? The fight against corruption cannot be politicized, otherwise then we lose the fight. We are coming from a background where the fight against corruption was about witch hunt. Zambia has come of age to agree that the fight against corruption must be fought within the provisions of the law.
All right, Mr. Mumba. So there are so many aspects looking at corruption. There are those who are reporting others, the whistleblowers. At one point, Chishimbaka Mbwili, I think, was a whistleblower of something, where he was now called by DEC to give evidence of what he was talking about. And then he ended up saying, no, me, I don't have confidence in the DEC anymore because I know this is not going to go anywhere. What would be your comment on that? Do you think Zambians now will even just stop, will not even talk about anything? They'll just sit and watch things unfold, things getting destroyed?
Okay, I think first let me reflect on the Sunday Chanda's comments, especially to do with the Article 18.2. Quite correct, actually. This is a position I'd made even earlier on, before we heard from him. That it is true that I think from the legal perspective, Dr. Chirufya, is innocent until he's proven
guilty.
And this is guaranteed under Article 18.2 of the Constitution. But I said, aside from the legal aspect of it, I think let's also begin to fight this corruption from the moral side of it. Because if we just use the law, sometimes because of lack of evidence, somebody may walk on technicality, may walk free on the street, and yet it could have been involved in any corruption. So let's also deal with this corruption from the moral side of it. Now, the moral side of it is not going to call for evidence. The moral side of it, just the mere show, the mere behavior and attitude towards corruption must be condemned. And this is a part that we also need to take root. If equally, even the politicians, they should not just sit on the side of law. Let's also sit on the political side of it to ensure that anyone involved, even when you have not been found with evidence, anything related to corruption must be condemned in its strongest term. Let's give an example. We had it's a case, it's in the public domain. I think we are not maligning anyone. But we saw Winnie Kapoko. Remember Kapoko?
Yes.
He was I think he was the Chief Human Resource Minister of Health. When he was charged with corrupt activities, what happened? What did the minister do? Suspended him. So he was going to court whilst on suspension. If he could have won the case, he could have gone back to his position. So the administrative aspect of it is not to do with law. The administrative aspect of it is the moral side of it, that we want you to go and clear your name. Actually, you are part of us. Go and clear your name. If it's not true, come back this position, you'll find it. But we want to show the nation that we abhor this behavior. Go. So this is the issue that everybody is trying to say. That look, yes, whilst the Constitution guarantees you on that aspect, also let's begin to look at the moral aspect of it to say, can we fight corruption? And we need to show that we really are fighting corruption. So that's the reaction that I would want to take from
Sunday Chanda.
All right, those messages, can we go through those messages? I saw some messages, but before we're playing the clip for Sunday Chanda, or during that time, I just wanted to show you that I can disappear and reappear. I disappeared here, all of you didn't see how I disappeared. Then I reappeared again from nowhere.
With the watch
we are living in a world of appearance and disappearance. All right. The message is, Kalan, this man. Okay. That's the beauty with technology. The beauty with technology is that when you want to do something, okay. I like
Kalan,
Kalan.
someone is in love with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just like the women of Zambia in love with the Malawian vice president. It's so annoying. We praise God. Okay, we'll read that again. Watching from Bishop Frank says, we're watching from Kamwala, South Zambia. Wake up. Thank you so much. Indeed, no, just another channel. Good morning. That's the one which Constance fails to say. Camnet, no, just another channel. Has DSTV rescinded its decision? Good morning, people of God. Watching you from Kawe, enjoying the program. Thank you so much. Great Chanda says, enjoying this program. Thank you so much. Vincent Mukusulo says, good morning, my fellow citizens. Good morning to you too. Henry Zulu says, Francisco Mumba, we will fight this together. Lamek Kamanga, morning Camnet family. Good morning to you too. Just as Mtonga, I think these ones we read them much earlier. So we'll be reading through your messages just like that. I like this technology from our innovative team. Please keep it the way it is like that. Thank you so much. Excuse me.
I think your crush doesn't even like you anymore with what you've just done.
Public.
They don't like you anymore. I can guarantee.
That's a man. It's a man. There's no crush with the man.
We didn't see
and I'm sure that man he also understands. That man also understands.
No, but before we get serious, why were you saying it's annoying that Zambian women are falling
it's so annoying
with the vice president
Mr.
from Malawi?
Yes, for you at least we've seen that you are offshore. You are now, honestly, all these men here, including myself, Mr. Mumba, these to Bena Constance, they can't see me. Yes, these to Bena Constance, they can't see me. They are just admiring the Malawian vice president. What's wrong with you guys? What's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
Actually, when I saw it on social media, I began to ask myself, is it because of the looks? Or is it because of an activity associated with his office and what he was doing?
I have chosen to distance myself from this
You
discussion.
cannot distance. What your fellow women and ladies are doing
is not a good thing.
No, it's also, you are part of it. They represent your thoughts.
No.
We are annoyed as men of this country. We are very much annoyed. Why are you leaving us out? You don't see us?
No, we don't.
But Kalan, I think the opposite could also be the same in Malawi.
In Malawi, yes. I'm sure. You are right, Mr. Mumba. Good morning. All right, somebody has gone. But you are right. Maybe somebody out there is also admiring Mr. Mumba. That does not mean Mr. Mumba is available. Because even that man is 100%, actually,
he is married.
105% married. You know, now, the Malawians are making fun of us. Hey,
the Zambian men.
Zambian men.
Actually, I saw some comparison. I don't know. I think it was you with the same Malawian president. People were like, no, we go for the vice president. Who is this one? And then I was like, yes, in this Kalan Muchima.
We shall all deport you to Malawi.
It's okay as long as the vice president is there.
No, but I think, to be honest with you, I think Malawi has shown Africa. In just what has happened in Malawi.
Yeah.
They have given us hope that it's still possible. It can happen. Because what has happened in Malawi, in my view, though, comparatively to Zambia, if you recall, Zambia was on that position at some point. We found ourselves on that position. But the problem is that we were not consistent. And we found ourselves again at the bottom. We were there at some point where, I don't want to walk into all those that happened in 1991. If you recall what happened in 1991, even you recall how we went into the stadium.
I wasn't even born.
Exactly. Oh, you are not born. Just to give you a bit of what happened in 1991, it's exactly the euphoria that you have seen in Malawi. It happened in Zambia. But unfortunately, we have slid back to the bottom. I remarked immediately when the president won. The president won in that. Statements started to come that yes, it's good Malawi has the man of God. So even ask Zambians. The Zambians, I don't know, do we forget so easily? Don't we call our leader here a millennium leader? That's what we call our leader. leader. And we have called, in fact, this is why even when you are making those gestures, we have seen that the humble leader is God-fearing.
No, please, this is just my invasion. My own, you know.
But okay, Karen, my point here is that even in Zambia we have a God-fearing. Don't we have a God-fearing? This is exactly what it is, but they have begun to say, in Malawi now they have got a God-fearing. I said, no. We make mistakes. The challenge we have in Africa, I recall Barack Obama's words, and I totally agree with him, that the institutions of governance are weak. If
we need to go.
Yeah, if we can make those institutions of governance strong, I think Zambia could have been exactly where we were in 1991.
All right. If I want to clarify, Mr. Mumba, that I've just discovered this, just like I don't even know whether it's true or not, David Livingstone discovered Victoria Falls, because it was already operating and then it just passed through. You mean there were no people there who discovered it, just because it was... Constance?
Don't bring politics in.
Constance, we need to go. You're looking beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. Oh my God, like even your crush is obviously crying right now.
That's a man in Aimwe.
Okay, thank you so much for having us today. This was the Rise and Thrive Breakfast Show right here on Camnet TV. We are streaming live on Facebook, Camnet TV, and also on DSTV, Go TV, and Top Star. Today in the studios, we had Mr. Mumba. Mr. Mumba, thank you so much for joining us. I'm
grateful for having me. Thank you for the viewers.
Did you enjoy your coffee?
Yes, I did. I'm still enjoying. It's not yet
but it's cold now.
I enjoy cold coffee. Let me take it, actually.
Constance, as you are closing, there's somebody who's asking there. There's an important question for you.
Yeah.
Camnet, DSTV, has it rescinded its decision?
Partly, would say.
I want to say yes, for now. This is why we haven't been talking about it so much. Yes, for now. The duty or the onus remains on us to do the rest. So we'll be updating you very shortly. But for now, we are very grateful to Mouth Choice for giving us another second chance, of course, to remain on their platforms, DSTV and GoTV. We are indebted to them. Thank you so much. The rest of the details will be unveiling to you as we go on. But for now, the deadline, which was supposed to be 30th, has elapsed, and we are still on these platforms. And of course, discussions are being done in the background. But Constance, quickly, you can wrap it up as we leave the studio.
I already wrapped it up.
Thank you so much. So good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you too.